Tramaine Thompson talking with me. So you played on the 2011 and 2012 teams, both double-digit win teams. And just here recently, obviously we know about the college football playoff going to now a 12-team playoff. It looks like that's where everything is headed. And I saw a really cool piece from The Athletic where they took the top 12 teams from, I think it was for the last decade. And you guys, so they had you in both 2011 and 2012. Looking back on it, how much damage do you think the 2011 and 2012 teams that you were on could have done in a 12-team playoff?
I think for sure 2011 would have competed. 2012, man, that was probably the best team I was a part of. Just a bunch of dogs everywhere you look on the field. I think that team could have really made a run, at trying to bring home, K-State's first national championship. And I think everybody that's on that team to this day, if you ask them, they'll probably say the same thing.
What comes to mind when I bring up Baylor from 2012? Like, what if I were to ask you what happened? What happened in Waco in 2012? What would your answer be?
So that still stings every time I think about Baylor. I just think it's a combination of, a little bit of the expectation mixed with, some key guys being out against a dangerous team. Even though the record wasn't that special, they still had a lot of firepower, and us just being down and being dinged up a little bit. It was just bad timing. When you go against teams at home with nothing to lose, you can get anything out of those guys. And, it was just one of those nights where it just didn't quite click all the way for us. And, to this day, I want to make it up to Manhattan because I feel like that was the year that we were supposed to, really achieve something special.
Well, you still did win a Big 12 championship. Let's say you did get something special there, Tramaine. In fairness, Tramaine Thompson is talking with me. What is your favorite memory from that season?
I would say winning the Big 12 championship. That was part of our goal. When we went into the season, we knew we were going to be a tough team. And we all had national championship expectations. And, of course, the Big 12 championship is on the road to that. So I would have to give it to that because we did accomplish that goal. But, as a group of guys who were dialed in to trying to be the first to ever do it at K-State, it was tough not accomplishing that for the community. Because that community means so much to us as players. The support that Manhattan brings is second to none. I played with a few guys and talked to a few guys from other Big 12 schools, and they all talked about how they liked playing there because of how the atmosphere was. So we wanted to do it for those guys.
How did K-State to you, how did Bill Snyder Family Stadium compete with going to Oklahoma, going to Stillwater, Oklahoma State? Where do you rank that in terms of atmospheres that you played in?
Oh, for me, it's number one. I never got to come on a visit before I committed, so my first time ever seeing a packed Bill Snyder Family Stadium was game day my true freshman year, and just running out of the tunnel and seeing the Wabash for the first time, and the atmosphere, hearing the loud roar over the PA system when we get a first down, that was all so. I just can still remember that feeling to this day. And, I mean, it's an atmosphere unlike any other. I love playing in Manhattan.
This occurred in Lawrence, but if I were you, if I'm Tramaine Thompson, until the day that I die, I would be showing people the highlight on the sideline against Kansas in 2010. Do you still pull that up for people and show them?
Some of my young wideouts, they find it from time to time. I don't usually pull it up that much. I'll like it or something when people do, but I think I kind of blew it up back when it happened to where it's kind of something that I might look back on here and there just for the moment, but I don't really pull it up that much.
Do you remember much from when it happened? Did you realize in the moment how great that was going to look as a highlight?
I didn't. I didn't know how crazy it looked. They didn't replay it in the stadium. And so we were on the bus heading back home, and like some of our teammates was like, "Yeah, you made the top 10. You made the top 10." And and I couldn't find it anywhere on Twitter because I don't know, for some reason nobody really posted it. So I ended up finding it on YouTube like a couple of days later. But yeah, I don't think any of us knew it was gonna, be that crazy.
Tramaine Thompson is talking with me, former K-State wide receiver. I mean, you see the success that Tyler Lockett is having these days. He's doing a lot of really cool things also off the field. What was it like playing with him, and at what point did you realize he was going to be the type of cat that could do what he has wound up doing in his career?
Man, you talk about like just a special person. I'm going to talk to this off the field side first. Just a special human being. Man, really brings the best out of everyone. And I think anybody who's ever played with him will have that same kind of sentiment towards him. Just a great guy. His family and my family have kind of known each other since we were younger. I got pictures of going to Kevin Lockett's camp when he would come back to Tulsa, and picture of me and Lockett. I'm probably 8 or 9. So I've known him for a while. But just the hard work that he puts in, man, on the field, we all knew it was going to be special. I remember his true freshman year, one of the first practices we had, he gave David Garrett one of the sickest releases I've ever seen off the ball. And I just remember all the older wideouts looking at each other like, whoa, he's going to be really good. So not surprising to us. And it's just amazing to see all he's accomplishing in the NFL, man, and even, all the things he does for the community in Seattle and also in Tulsa as well.
Well, I was going to ask for a good Tyler Lockett story. That is a pretty good Tyler Lockett story. Is there you have a funny anecdote about Tyler Lockett you'd like to share, something that we haven't heard?
So fun. It's all so from a lot of football players, especially at the receiver position. We're super flashy guys. We like to make sure we're all, we look good and, we feel good so we can play good. But if you ever look at Lockett, I want you to look at his socks. His socks are always crinkled up, like he just throws them on because he doesn't care. He doesn't care much about how he looks. He just goes and gets the job done. So that's probably one of my favorite things I always see when I see him on the field is how he just threw his socks on.
I like that. Well, how much care was Tramaine Thompson putting into his socks? Like, what kind of socks was Tramaine Thompson rocking?
Probably too much care into it, honestly. But I didn't really get too flashy from games, honestly. We weren't the flashiest bunch. I don't think we were really allowed to be that flashy, to be honest with you. It's a lot different for those guys now. They're a little more swaggy, but I didn't pay too much attention to it.
Well, see, it's interesting you say that because, yeah, I felt like, especially like I'm thinking the 2012 receiver core, like it had to be you and Harper that were holding up some of the flash for the receivers, right? Because then it's like Lockett, and I guess Curry would have been around at that point too, but it was all on you and Chris Harper to have some of the swag for that receiving core.
Right. It was such different people too, so it just kind of worked well together. We all had really different attributes and different senses of humor, but that receiver core, man, that was a special group.
You still talk much with Chris Harper?
We talk here and there. That's still my guy. It just gets tough as you get older to constantly, to always keep up with people. But no matter what, I know I can hit him up today, and we'll have a funny conversation about some time back then. So.
Love it. Well, those were good times. I always say, Tramaine, and I think a lot of K-State fans would hold you in this same regard. Like looking back through your stats too today, it was like, man, like you were a very productive player over 4 years. Just feels like an underrated K-State player, right? Because there was a lot of firepower and star power on those teams that you played on, but you had a very, very productive 4-year career.
Yeah, I had a lot of really good guys around me who, take a lot of that shine. I played with Colin Klein, so he's going to be the guy, and rightfully so, man. I've never seen somebody take as much punishment as Colin did on a game-by-game basis and never complain. So guys like him and Arthur Brown and, you know, and Harp and Lockett, you know, those guys taking the shine is why I was able to be so productive in my role.
Well, one last thing for you, Tramaine, before I let you go. You are, as I mentioned, a receivers coach now at Jinx High School. So put on your receivers coach hat. I assume that you've been able to keep up with K-State. It seems like you have, just judging by your Twitter account. What do you think? What's your assessment right now of K-State's current receiver core and what they have?
I think they got some young guys with some talent. It's just about consistently making the plays, and you know, I think the consistency will start to bring a little bit more confidence. I think Skylar is gonna do a great job of leading those guys. You know, I'm excited to watch. You know, these guys compete secretly. I'm always been a big fan of Brooks. You know, and those guys are gonna make some plays this year. I'm trying to see who's the young guy who's gonna step up. I feel like I've been hearing some rumblings about a young guy in the receiving corps that's gonna make some noise this year. I ain't gonna put it out there yet, but just be on the lookout.